God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
Or perhaps he will get themselves.
Yes, so he will get
Herself.
herselves.
Yes.
My name is Tomcat, and I am joined by my fabulous co-host, the delightful, the lovely Tony Homeperm.
She's delightful.
She's delicious.
She's the lovely.
She's delovely. And welcome to God'll Get You for That, Walter, where we discuss the 1970s hit sitcom Maude. And today we're going over Season 2, Episode 13, Music Hath Charms.
And this is our episode 37.
Yup, Episode 37.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting closer and closer to the end.
Well, that's every day at this point.
Correct.
Now, it aired originally.
It aired originally on December 11th, 1973.
12/11.
Was directed by Hal Cooper, written by Lloyd Turner and Bob Schiller. We have guest stars Phil Leeds as Philippe. We have Keith Taylor as the delivery boy. And we have Arthur Peterson just simply as Man. Just man. And fun fact about this episode, this was B. Arthur's least favorite.
You got a hair there, pussycat.
Of course I do. Is it
wig
hair?
It's wig hair. Wig hair. That is just
a telltale sign of a drag queen. Just finding random long pieces
synthetic
of
hair.
Of synthetic hair.
Of any color in the rainbow.
Any color in the rainbow.
It happens, yes.
So this was an episode.
As you were saying, B. Arthur's
least favorite episode.
She didn't like this episode.
She did not like this episode. And and the first time I watched it, I was like, it's kind of cute. But it's like every time Walter did what he did, I was like, can we just stop with the damn organ? So let's get into it. The episode opens in the kitchen with Florida by the sink. Vivian and Carol and Maude are just getting ready to sit down at the table for coffee and snacks, and it's lunchtime, so I am just the gassiest person in the universe. This is terrible.
I'm not editing out the gas.
No, don't edit out the gas.
I'm just telling you right now.
It was my fault because I decided
she had to eat day-old
cold chicken nuggets from Burger King.
From Burger King, no less.
I'm sorry, from Kerber Bing.
From
Kerber Bing.
Okay.
From Kerber Bang.
Okay.
So they all are sitting at the table, and Maude is walking over to the table, saying that they had to take the door off the hinges to get to the bathroom, and that's how we started our honeymoon.
Yes, we don't find out what the lead-in was.
There's no lead-in. It's just Maude.
So we don't know why it was so funny or why the door had to be taken off the hinges, but
I mean, I kind of hate when episodes start like that because it's just like, how do we get to the punchline?
Yes.
Can someone explain to me how we got to the punchline? No.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
It was a little odd.
So, Maude sits down, and Vivian's like, "Oh, I have an anniversary card for you."
And
she
then
wrote
we find,
a verse.
Yes.
She wrote a verse.
Find out that this is Vivian's thing. Apparently, every year she comes up with a anniversary verse for Maude. At least, I guess, for the years when she is married.
Yes, correct.
To celebrate the
anniversary. So I do not know I forget what the line was. I think the last rhyming couplet was Barney, Albert, and Chuck can't compare to... No, Barney, Albert, and... What was the... No.
Wasn't it Chuck?
No, it wasn't Chuck. That was Vivian's ex-husband.
Oh, that's right.
So it was Albert, Barney, and why can't I remember... There was an episode where he guest starred Barney, Albert. This is going to bother the absolute nonsense out of me.
All right, so you know what? Continue talking. I'm going
to remember because it was ABC. Albert, Barney, Chester.
Yes, there we
Barney,
go.
Albert, Chester can compare to Walter. That was the last rhyming couplet.
Yes.
And,
I was actually trying to Google it.
Yes.
To see what were all the husbands' names.
Chester.
But you guessed, you remembered it. Chester.
Because there was the episode where I think it was literally called Maude's ex-husband.
Okay. Good enough.
So yes, and the following card was for I think the last year. Because what was
year-
like,
last year
what was
prior.
the poem that was for last year? That was like, oh, I remember.
Yeah, of course.
Something. Something of course. You've had enough husbands to choke a horse.
Choke a horse.
And then there was a joke made. And,
Vivian says, "Yeah, I think I've had more fun with your husbands than you have."
yeah, that was
Yeah.
when Maud was like, I'm the only one who knows that as far as I think.
As far as she can be sure. Who knows?
I don't.
Oh Lord.
There actually is an episode where it's right after I believe it's right after Arthur and Vivian get married. Spoiler alert. Arthur and Vivian do get married, and there's an episode where Walter kisses Vivian, and then later in the episode, Maud and Arthur walk in, seeing Vivian and Walter kissing.
Oh.
So it's more where it's like really close friends and being able to be romantic with your close friends or platonic. It was a very interesting episode.
Excuse me?
A very interesting
Be romantic
episode.
with a friend? No, I don't think so.
I mean, it was just a peck on the lips.
No. Oh well.
Means nothing to me. We'll get
I don't
to
know.
that episode in time.
I don't know about kissing a friend on the lips.
Well, we'll get to the episode in time.
right,
There's
we will discuss.
no harm, no
To be
foul.
discussed at
To
a
be
later
dis-
time.
TBD.
Now, Walter is still asleep.
During lunchtime, so he was up all night till 2 a.m. playing that organ.
Playing his organ.
Playing his organ that he bought, I think, as an anniversary present for the both of them.
Yes, for the both of them.
Technically for the family.
Family.
For the family.
Yes. Yes.
Um.
Now, here we have to get into it. My grandfather had an organ. And, I remember. But my grandparents, the thing they loved to do, they would go to the mall.
Oh, no.
And, what you call it? The Sunrise Mall.
Oh, when the Sunrise Mall was the Sunrise Mall, not the abandoned Sunrise Mall?
Yes. The one in Massapequa.
Yes.
And, at the time, that was like
Oh,
early...
no, the Sunrise Mall is still very much open.
Yeah,
active.
yeah.
That one's still open.
Yes.
Active.
Yes,
I'm thinking of the Sunvet Mall.
You're thinking of Sunvet.
I'm thinking of Sunvet.
That
Mall.
one is abandoned.
They're all the
basically.
same. They're all the
That
same
one's-
mall at the end of the day.
Yes. So Sunrise Mall was like, and especially like in the early 70s, the malls just had started, cropping up.
Yes.
And that was the thing to do. You went to the mall and you walked around. And this mall, I'm sure it's not there anymore. Sunrise Mall had an organ store. And I don't remember what the name of it was, but they had an organ store devoted completely to the sale of organs.
It reminds me of that musical In the Good Old Summertime, where Judy Garland works in a store with, I think, Van Johnson, and they sell sheet music. They sell sheet music and harps and different types of instrumentals
Right.
for relatively affordable prices, during the 1940s.
Right.
But I think it was like In the Good Old Summertime was one of those period movies where where it took place in, I think, the late 1800s.
Yes.
And it was just, selling instruments.
Yes.
And you don't see very much of those these days.
No, you do not.
Like, it's very rare that you see an instrument shop. But my mother inherited from my grandmother a Casio organ. Again, electric piano.
I remember them.
An electric piano, and it's now with my uncle. But I was also gifted an organ that takes 10 D batteries.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Get
It's a lot.
an adapter for that thing.
Correct. Correct.
Well,
Organs, by all means, continue.
they I don't know, they saw my grandfather coming. And they got him to buy an organ just like Walter had. And it went right down into the basement because, typical Italian family, the basement was finished, had its own kitchen and everything, because when, we had like Christmas Eve dinners and anything like that, you went downstairs.
You didn't have a sunken living room?
No.
Okay.
But people were not allowed in the living room.
That's right, it was the museum.
And the dining and my grandmother had a dining room that was never used.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, that makes
Ever.
sense.
Never used. we ate in the basement.
Yep.
So that's where the organ went, into the basement.
That's a good place for it.
And so from then on, that my grandfather became just like Walter, playing the organ. And I tell you, every song sounded exactly the same. I don't know what it is with the organ, and like my grandfather, he put on like, you know, because they had all these things like the bass and the backing and the drum stuff and everything, but everything that he did, it always sounded, everything was like boom, 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 and it didn't matter what the song was. It could be "Girl from Ipanema," and it was boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was just like, oh, boom, 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 boom. Exactly. That's exactly how it sounded.
That's terrible.
That's exactly
That's
how
awful.
It sounded. But he was devoted.
He was devoted.
He was devoted
Devoted
to
and determined.
freaking organ. He played it every day. He was studying his music. I mean,
Poorly, apparently.
oh, well, unfortunately, I just, wonderful man, my grandfather, but he didn't have a lot of rhythm. You know.
If that's his definition of rhythm, it's a good thing he ain't Catholic.
Exactly. He was Catholic.
Oh, well, there it is.
He was Catholic, but yeah.
So,
yeah.
At that point,
You
can attest.
I can sympathize with, hearing the organ, on and on and on. So yes. So where were we?
In hell. So at that point, they're all kvetching, they're all kikiing, and the doorbell rings. So Maud goes to the door, and she calls out to Walter, "Walter, lunch!" So she goes to open the door, and it's Keith Taylor playing the delivery boy. Delivering the groceries.
Yes.
And Maud takes the groceries away, and she finds out that there's
The ice cream's
The
melted.
ice cream's and because they didn't have, the cartons that we do today, they had boxes of ice cream, and the box melted.
Yes.
And it just, disintegrated all over the groceries.
Exactly.
And, Maud is
And
like...
it melted, and it got on the green stamps.
On her green stamps. Now,
I know. You do not know.
I know not of green stamps.
You do not know what green stamps
I do not know of green stamps.
I, however, being ancient, I do know what green stamps are.
Of course.
Way, way back in the dawn of time. Not as
1972.
not as far back as some I could mention, but
Leave her be.
but
Leave
far
her be.
enough.
Leave her be. Leave her be. She has done her chores.
She'll never listen to this. There used to be a thing called S&H green stamps.
Okay.
And most grocery stores had them. Like, you spent like a certain amount of money and you got like a certain amount of green stamps. And there was a green stamp book. Mm-hmm. And what you did was you filled up the book with the green stamps. And however many books you could fill up with the green stamps, you could then turn them in to the S&H Green Stamp Company in exchange for, like, some sort of a product, or like a kitchen utensil, or a blender, or
Coupons
something like
before
that.
there were coupons. Oh no, it was definitely.
Oh no, they
coupons
still had coupons
at the time too.
They still had coupons, but the S&H Green Stamp was, you wanted to like collect these things, and you filled up a book. And, something might be like 10 books of green stamps, or 20 books of green stamps. And that's what you did. You collected the green stamps. You filled up the book, in the hopes of getting like, a mixer or a blender, or, some sort of...
It sounds almost like something you would see at Dave & Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Certain amount of tickets will get you a certain prize.
That's right.
I would certainly take a blender or a mixer over a tiny little stuffed animal that took, 10 years to get because of all the tens of thousands of tickets you've collected. Mm-hmm. So
Definitely.
That is green. That is
Yes.
green stamps. Okay.
So Maud is, she's upset with the
She's upset, and she
delivery
closes
boy.
the door in the delivery boy's face.
Or
And he's
tries.
just like, well, wait a minute. Where's my tip? And she goes, you got ice cream all over my groceries and green stamps, and you expect me to give you a tip?
Right.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
She does give him a tip, though.
She does give him a tip. Never ask for money you
Never
have not,
accept
never
money.
accept money you have not earned, or you'll grow up to be vice president.
And we actually stopped.
We did. We paused because we
point.
wanted to find out about Spiro Agnew.
Yes, that's who the vice president was at the time.
Yep.
Who, as we found out,
Yep.
he had actually, he was one of the few, I think one of only two vice presidents that actually resigned.
Yes.
And he resigned. They were trying to get him for political corruption.
Yep.
But in exchange for them not charging him with political corruption, he pled no contest to
Income
tax
evasion.
And for that, all he received was a fine of $10,000, 3 years probation,
And was disbarred by the Maryland Court of Appeals.
right. So basically, a
Slap on the wrist.
slap on the wrist.
For a politician during the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's sort of interesting how like Nixon and Reagan were sort of the forefathers of what we now know to be the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't get into that. We
Yeah.
want to,
We would like to,
but we
yes.
won't.
But isn't it funny? The more things stay the same,
The more things
the
change.
more they don't change.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yes.
It's just...
Yeah. Oh, well.
Beam me up! Just beam me up.
So, Maud she's still yelling at Walter to come down
Yep,
from lunch.
Walter, lunch, come
Yes.
down, and then she goes back into the kitchen, and I think at that point
She hands Florida
the groceries.
Groceries
and
a la mode.
She says, "Here, Florida, sort through these," and
Yeah.
Florida like holds it. She says, "Just what I wanted, grocery a la mode."
Groceries a la mode.
So at that point, Walter comes downstairs. He stops. He looks to the kitchen. He looks to the organ. He looks to the kitchen. Looks back to the organ.
And Maud says she's commenting that she's sure that as he comes downstairs, he's probably going to want to stop
and play the organ.
And she's sort of been like telling them all, oh, she just loves that Walter loves playing the organ, and
And then Carol, I think, says something quippy.
Mm-hmm.
She says something quippy, and then Maud retorts with, "And to think I carried high for 9 months so you'd be a girl."
That's right, yes. And she's telling them to...
That's what so Vivian, I think, says something where she's like, "Oh, I just wish I could be part of the family to listen to Walter play the organ." And
Yes.
Carol turns to her and goes, You want to take my place in the family?"
Right.
And I think that's what led Maud to say what she said.
And doesn't she say something about giving him a break, and Florida wants to break his fingers?
All 10 of them. I'd like to give him a break. 10 of them, one for each finger.
And of course, we see Walter is now coming down, and he's on his way to the kitchen, but sees the organ. And
Turns
has
on the organ,
to
and
start
plays the organ.
playing the
And
organ.
what does he play on the organ?
He plays Old Black Joe. Yes.
Screaming.
Old Black
Screaming.
I'm not familiar with Old Black Joe. I don't really want to be familiar with Old Black Joe.
Well, I mean, it plays sort of into the minstrel shows of the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
Like that was, I mean, the 10s and the 30s. The early 1900s and the late 20s. That was when minstrel shows were in vogue.
Very true.
And you would have things like Old Black Joe. You would have Uncle Tom. You would have Amos and Andy. You would have Stepan Fetchik. And you would just have you would have these sort of.
No, I just pulled it up because I'm curious.
Old Black Joe
According to Wikipedia.
According to Wikipedia. Go ahead.
Old Black Joe is a parlor song by Stephen Foster.
1826 to 1864, very short life.
Published by Firth Pond & Co. of New York in 1860, so that's how old it is.
Ken Emerson, author of the book Doodah, which was written in 1998, indicates that Foster's fictional Joe was inspired by a servant in the home of Foster's father-in-law, Dr. McDowell of Pittsburgh. The song is not written in dialect.
Uh-huh. Stephen Foster. He wrote, what else did he write? He wrote...
Nothing good, I imagine.
Susanna, Camptown Races.
Oh, Hard Times Come Again No More.
my-
Old Folks at Home. Down at the Old Folks at Home. Swanee River.
Jeannie with the light brown hair, beautiful dreamer.
So he wrote a lot of standards.
Yeah,
Stephen
he really
Foster did
did.
write a lot of standards. So I take it
Yes.
back. He wrote a few good songs.
He has been identified as the most famous songwriter of the 19th century.
Well, good for him.
Yes. However, Old Black Joe, not a fan.
Not a fan of that.
We're not a fan of Old Black Joe. But what can I say?
Not a damn thing because he's dead.
Yeah.
They're all dead.
Yes.
They're all finished.
Obviously, the song was a product of its time.
Yes, very much so.
Which was not a good one.
No, correct. Not a good time at all.
Now, Maud has been hoping that Walter will get tired of the organ. She had commented that, this is his modus operandi, I guess, that he starts something, he gets tired of it,
And then he stops.
and then he stops. So, obviously, she's been through this before.
What hobbies have you started and stopped?
Playing piano.
Okay.
What else? Working out.
That's when we've all done and stopped. That's when we've all begun and stopped is what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean...
Candy making. Oh, I did candy making for a while. Yeah.
The look on my face.
Why?
I never would have assumed... I mean, I know that you like to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like to cook, and I know you like to bake. Mm-hmm. But I never once thought that you would have been a candy maker.
Yeah, the simple stuff like chocolates in the molds, that sort of stuff.
Oh, my mother did that.
So
My mother did that.
yeah,
My mother did all that fun stuff. She also did, baskets. She would do, like, baskets for baby showers, baskets for bridal showers. She would do them up all nice and whatnot. She actually, as a matter of fact, we were going through we were going through a lot of the old stuff because when we moved into the new house, there were still boxes that needed to be unpacked. And we'd been in the house for about 2 years. 3 Christmases, but 2 years. Yeah, just wild what we found. Like she found a lot of fabric that she used to use. She found jackets that she's made from years ago.
Oh.
Because my mother was a seamstress. My mother was a
right.
seamstress. My mother did tailoring. She did hair and makeup. She did, because she worked in my grandmother's salon.
Right.
So we found a lot of things that she did for like bridal showers, baby showers, christenings, all that fun stuff. Yeah. She would love to continue doing it again, but unfortunately, it doesn't pay the bills.
This is true. Oh, another thing I did for a long time, I would do hand decorated eggs where I would blow out the
center,
the white and the yolk of an egg, and then and I actually still have some downstairs, and paint them and polyurethane them, and they were really quite beautiful. And for a while, I was working at Michael's. I actually gave a class on it.
Hey, look at you doing the thing.
I know.
My question is, why did you stop?
I just got involved in different things, I guess.
That's fair.
That's fair. I think I sort of I became involved with the
Long Island Gay Men's Chorus,
and
and then drag happened,
and then drag happened,
and then drag happened,
and then drag happened, and still happening.
It's interesting because for me, I didn't start sewing until about 5 years ago. And the reason why I started 5 years ago, I wanted to start sooner. I wanted to start in 2009, 2010 when I started working at Joann's. And my mother, bless her loving heart, I was like, Mom, can you please teach me how to sew? We have the sewing machine. Just please, take time just to teach me how to sew. And she goes, I don't have the patience to do that. You wanna do everything, and it's like, I know, but I'm willing to learn. And then I started buying myself patterns and buying myself fabric, and I was just like, what the hell?
So you just taught yourself,
Yep.
or just
taught myself how to sew. It's not exactly a lucrative career because there's not a lot of people out there that want to commission people for different things.
True.
There's people that want things taken in or let out, and I did work for a tailoring company for a brief period of time. And if my family needs something taken in or needs something fixed or hemmed or whatnot, I'm right there to say, hey, got you covered because I can do that.
yes.
But yeah, then, I'd been cosplaying at that point I started cosplaying in 2012. 2011. 2011, I started cosplaying by going to my first convention, which was New York Comic Con. And, you know, I went and I bought. I, like, bought myself different, like, costume pieces and whatnot, like leotards or tights.
Right.
Or I would have a friend of mine make me these gorgeous outfits that I still have. Like, I still have them. And then, like, in 2011, not 2011, 2012, so that was 5 years ago. That's 2015, 2016? So in, like, 2016, I was like, I'm going to sell myself something.
Okay.
So I sewed myself a couple of things, and, like, there was one outfit. I don't know if you're familiar with Casper, the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah.
The villain, Kathy Moriarty's character.
Yes.
I wanted to make her ghost outfit, which was very form-fitting. I was going to do a black velvet. I was going to do a black velvet sheath dress down to the floor. A friend of mine suggested that I use a stretch sateen. And I bought, I think, 6 yards of stretch sateen. And instead of using a machine, I hand sewed. So I hand sewed an entire floor-length gown. And my mother was like, Tom, just use the sewing machine. And I'm like, you won't teach me!
Teach me!
You won't teach me! So I hand sewed the entire garment, and unfortunately I didn't end up using it because it just, I don't know if you've ever felt stretch sateen, but it's actually a rather rigid fabric. And I couldn't use a rigid fabric. I needed to use something that had a little bit more fluidity to it.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the only way that I was able to sew velvet was with a sewing machine. And then, like, it reached a point where I didn't want to rely on my mother to make me any more costumes, so I took to the machine myself.
Yeah. So
And
that's what you have to do.
Yeah, but
You want something done, you just got to do it yourself.
if you want something done right, you do it yourself. And it's unfortunate because, like, as much as cosplay was a fun hobby for me, I haven't really gone to any conventions since 2020.
Well,
Because of everything. And I know that this is a podcast where we're talking about mod in the 1970s, but still, like, you know, there are a lot of goings on today that need to be addressed. Like, we are still it is 2021, friends. We are still in a panini.
It's 2022.
It's 2020. No, it isn't.
Yes, it
is.
is.
2022.
It's 2022,
2021
pussycat.
still.
It's 2022.
It's still 2021 in my eyes.
Okay.
Still 2021. I'm still stuck in March of 2020, for Christ's sake.
Oh, my Lord. But think of the good things it's brought, like this podcast.
Like this podcast. Brought to you by Findle's Appliances. Brought to you by Findle's Friendly Appliances. But I mean, that's what happens. Like, you have these hobbies, and then something happens where you just don't want to do it anymore.
True.
Either you lose interest, or something happens where you're just like, I can't do it anymore because it's too labor intensive, it's too laborious.
Yeah. Well, that's like even with like drag too. I mean, I've seen a lot of people
come and go in the
that
community.
have started it, and then they just
all right. Now you know what? I'm glad we brought this up. I am so delighted we brought this up. So when it comes to, I'm like actually adjusting myself because I have opinions.
I think I need to.
I have opinions.
I think I need to untuck.
When it comes to hobbies, people think that hobbies are a quick cash grab.
Oh yeah. Forget it. Yeah,
that is the big problem here.
No.
People think that hobbies are a way to make money. People think that, you know, that you're going to make money, you know, doing anything, like doing cosplay photography, doing cosplay, doing, you know, playing on the street with a guitar, like doing all of these sort of creative things. And it's like, I can make money doing that. And it's like, you can't, it's not that easy.
No.
It's not that easy. Like, it takes work. It takes dedication, because this is something that my mother told me. And it's one thing that I will never forget my mother telling me. It's that what you want to do in a creative field, there are 20 million other people who want to do the same thing.
That's very true.
So you need to make yourself stand out. And it is one of the most challenging things in any form of creative medium. So the fact that there are people that are just like, I don't know if you're familiar with him. His name is S. Johnson Voiceovers on TikTok. No. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He goes by Stephen Johnson on Facebook. Fabulous voiceover artist. But he didn't become popular until he started doing voiceover stuff on TikTok.
Oh.
And he, you know, recorded every day, posted every day, did something that everybody can, like, listen to and interact with and all that fun stuff. And I've been trying to do something similar. It hasn't exactly taken off, but, you know, you never know when the wind is going to blow your way.
Well, if you don't try, it never happens.
Exactly. What is it? You miss 100% of the hits you don't take, or whatever it is. What's that expression?
I don't know.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
That's
right,
it.
right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Very true.
Memory of an elephant.
Memory.
But, you know, he actually gave a friend of his was coming to him saying, oh, you know, I've been told that I can do voiceover work. I've been told that I can do commercials. I've been told I can do this, that, the third. I really want to think of it as a side hustle. And it's like, with something that is so engaging, where you need to just engage your entire being into it, like you need to throw yourself into this creative field so heavily, and just you need to be in it to win it. It's very challenging. So Stephen gave his friend advice, and he was like, you know, it's not that easy. It's not that,
Right.
you know, you need to work. Like it's it's a job.
Right.
You need to wake up every day. You need to send your emails. You need to do the thing on social media. You
Getting
need
an actual job is a job.
yes, getting an actual job is a job these
Job.
days.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel when it comes to creativity. Like you need to be in it to win it, and you need to understand that rejection will come.
Oh,
rejection
God, yeah.
is part of the game.
Very true.
But failure is the key to success.
Okay. So, are we still talking about Maud?
Yep. Speaking of failures, Florida turns to Maud and goes, if I hear one more chorus of Old Black Joe, I'm going out there and putting Massa in the cold, cold ground.
Oh my Lord!
Again, just really cringy lines, but at the same
Yes.
time, Old Black Joe was very, very racist.
Yes.
Old Black Joe was a very racist,
Very racist song.
minstrel song.
Yeah.
There was actually a joke that Florida made earlier in the episode where she was like, poor Joe.
Yeah.
Bad enough he's old and he's black.
Yeah. He's got to be, have Walter.
He's got to have Walter playing that.
playing him on the organ.
Yep.
Oh.
So, Walter continues playing, and Maud holds her head saying, oh, why couldn't he have taken up the piccolo?
Yeah.
Have you ever played a piccolo?
No.
Neither have I.
No, I never.
Neither
Although I'm sure I would fare rather well on a woodwind instrument. As would you.
I'm not going to make the joke I want to make.
Oh.
Because this is a show for kids.
Yeah, right. No kids are listening to this. The kids are not into this show. Trust and believe.
I disagree. I am trying to bring Maud back into vogue. Thank you.
The kids are not having it.
The kids ain't having
Legit. See,
Wow,
I
you
was
said that.
I was like relevant there. It would be the only
Hello
moment.
there, fellow young people.
Hello, fellow young people.
So Maud goes out into the living room to get Walter to come into the kitchen, have lunch.
Walter, sweetheart.
Walter, sweetheart, darling.
Speaking of hanging.
Speaking of hanging, yes, literally. So Walter turns to Maud and says, I'm sure you think this is one of my just
Passing fancies.
but it's not. I'm going to be playing this for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And Maud turns to him and says, the rest of your life. God'll get me for what I'm thinking.
And then the phone rings.
And the phone rings, and it's Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henderson.
And Maud goes,
One of
"Oh,
the
you love
neighbors.
do you love his playing,
Walter's
don't you?"
playing. Oh.
And then she
That
pauses.
much.
That much.
We don't know what he said.
You don't know what he said, but he
But-
said something.
But
So she hangs up the phone. and
Walter's sweetheart again.
there is something I want you to play. What is it, Maud? Golf.
Golf. Yes, and apparently every time he plays,
The neighbors
call,
call.
and there's always a reference.
There's always two words
Yes.
that constantly come out of their mouths.
Yes.
Vigilante committee.
Yes.
So, Walter asks, Philip makes noise all the time, and Maud is incensed.
Yeah.
You're equating your grandson to your
Yeah.
playing the piano,
He's a
playing
kid.
the organ.
He's a kid. Of course, he's gonna make noise.
You're equating your grandson to an electric organ? Grubby, Walter. Grubby. So at that point, Walter continues playing, and I think Walter says, "Oh, you're making me," Maud says, "Walter, you're making me crazy."
Yeah, she's she can't take it anymore.
Yep.
He's driving her crazy.
Yep. Oh, you're making me crazy, old black
Yes.
Joe.
Yes. Walter turns it into a
medley.
A medley.
Oh, look,
yes.
Maud, my first medley.
and she's begging him to turn him off. You know, she I thought it was funny. She told him that he's no Liberace, which is it's. We were actually just talking about Liberace before we did this because
We did. We were talking about David Mayoko.
David
We were
Mayoko.
talking about David Mayoko,
who
is a very, very famous Liberace impersonator.
I've had him on a couple of my
Yes,
shows.
I wanted to have him on my show, but he was too busy.
He's yeah. Well, you know, he was in Army of the Dead.
He was in Army of the Dead, so he's
He's in
becoming-
an actual movie, and he was featured in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, so
In the first 4 seconds. In the first 4 seconds
That
of
was
the movie,
longer than
and
that.
it was longer
It was
than
a little
that.
longer than that.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Good for
It
him.
was a little longer than
Good
that.
for him.
Yes, he had a really a very memorable scene in it.
Yes.
He really did. And you know, he was telling us how because he was on Naughty or Nice with me and
Yes.
Alexis, and he was saying how, like, you know, if he started playing and like the director went nuts, and really he was really just supposed to be like
Michael Bay. Michael Bay, I think, was the director.
and I mean, David was just supposed to be seen for like, you know, like a millisecond or something. But like he was playing and doing all this Liberace, and the director, they, you know, and everybody on set, they went nuts over him, and they like basically that whole thing.
They built a scene around his piano
it wasn't really
playing.
supposed to be what it was, but they just loved David.
I mean, that's, you know,
So,
that,
which is great. I mean,
he is
he's
a
like,
wonderful personality.
He is.
We love
So
him
nice.
very much.
Him
He's
and his
he's
husband,
they're,
Christopher.
They're both humongous sweethearts.
They're both so nice, and like, I mean, and David really is one of the greatest Liberace impersonators I've ever seen. Literally, you feel like Liberace is returned.
Is there.
I mean,
like, and he even fits into Liberace's clothing.
and that's actually like used to be Liberace's outfits. He has like, you know, and some of the outfits he has, like the capes and the jewelry,
capes with the
thing.
fur trim and the
Oh
jewelry.
my God, it's amazing.
It's enough to choke a horse.
Yeah, it's really, and I like discussed this with him, that it's really it's Liberace drag.
Yes, it is.
what
It's
he's
Liberace
doing,
drag.
because, you know, he really has to do a complete transformation. But love David, love him, love, and
We
Walter
love him
was
so much,
no
and Walter was no
Liberace.
Liberace. Walter was no Liberace.
He was no Liberace.
He was no Liberace.
So
So Maud comes back with a hose. She
Yes.
says, "I'm going to hose myself to death.
gonna
I'm
hose
backing up
herself
all
to
of this
death."
water. I'm
Yeah.
gonna shoot this water all down my mouth. You're actually going to ignore me. You're going to allow me to guzzle down dirty city water." Did you ever drink out of the hose?
of course, when I was a kid, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, but I think I was a little kid. I think we actually had
Clean drinking water.
our own well water, because I lived in New Jersey at that point.
I lived in Brooklyn.
So, you know, but they say, like, you know, it's not safe to drink it out of the hose. I think there's something about the hose itself. So,
Hell if I know.
you know, you should never cook with hot water from your kitchen sink either. Did you know that?
Not at all.
Yes, it's true. Because you should only use like the cold water, because the hot water, like stuff from, you know, the pipes.
Stuff from the pipes gets
Because
into
the hot
it.
water
Yes.
can, like, you know, it can get into the, you know, you could be ingesting that.
Yep, you could be ingesting
never-
one of those. Bleh.
So this is a helpful Tony Homeperm tip, ladies.
It's a Tony tip.
It's a Tony tip.
It's a tip from Tony.
tip from Tony. Tony with an I.
Tony with an eye.
So don't use the hot water.
Don't use hot water.
Like,
for your
you know,
foods.
like, yeah, like if you're boiling, gonna, you know, boil pasta or boil anything.
Yeah.
Don't think, oh, I'll use hot water because it's already, you know, hot, so it'll make
Yes.
the boiling time quicker. Don't do it, because it's really not safe to drink the hot water or cook something in, you know, hot water. Because think about it, usually, like, if a pipe that will spring a leak in your home is always going to be a hot water pipe, because the hot water, like, reacts with the, you know, minerals and things and sediment, and that's what breaks down the pipes. It's usually never a cold water pipe.
They don't teach you this stuff in
Yeah.
school, kids.
Although a cold water pipe will burst, like, if it freezes.
If it freezes, yes.
If it freezes, but
There was actually when we lived off of Breeze. When we lived off of Breeze, our neighbor was gone for. She takes vacations to Disney often, And she was gone for like one winter, and her pipes burst.
Oh yeah.
And the bottom, her kitchen floor, not the kitchen floor, I think the basement floor was like flooded.
Oh yeah.
And then it froze because it was really, really, really cold.
Oh, that's bad.
And it was not a fun time.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, that causes a lot of damage.
And it was a good thing that we lived next door because the neighbor gave us a key.
Mm-hmm.
So my father, my mother, myself would go over and like check periodically.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like report back, like, we need to contact this person and be like, hey, so, and we became very close with our neighbors because we had lived there for, I want to say, about 20 years.
Oh.
So we lived next door to them for a while, and we became again very close. And again, whenever like something would go wrong and they'd be on vacation, we would report to them and then say, okay, you have to call so and so,
Right.
or oh, you have to call such and such to come over and check the house.
There you go.
It's very interesting being a homeowner.
It
I
is.
will never experience that luxury.
No, because you're what, a millennial? Or
Unfortunately, yes, I'm a millennial.
You are a millennial.
I'm a millennial.
Yes, I think I'm on the cusp of baby boomer and what comes after baby boomer?
Gen X.
I'm right on the cusp.
Gen X is like Carol. Carol's a Gen Xer.
Well, I was younger than Carol.
Then you would probably be no, you wouldn't be a Gen X. You'd be you'd be right on the cusp.
I'm right on the cusp.
Right on the cusp between baby boomer and Gen X.
Yeah. Oh well, there I am.
I mean, all things considered, I think Adrienne Barbeau would be considered a teeny bopper.
Mm-hmm.
Because like her heyday was like the 60s.
Yeah.
And your heyday was the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
So
I guess Gen X, whatever that means. So Walter slams the organ closed, and he's leaving.
He is leaving, and he
Yes.
says that he wants to be any place but here. And then Maud says, "Well, go."
But remember,
No, when you come crawling back tonight up to this bed, no amnesty.
So as Walter leaves,
Arthur enters.
comes in, and
Because he says, "Happy anniversary, Walter," and then Walter just gets in the car and skedaddles.
yes,
And Maud is like rattling off all of the things that frustrate her about Walter. Like, he's pig-headed, he's argumentative, boorish, all that fun stuff. And then Arthur is giving her words to repeat, and she repeats them.
Yes.
And at the end, she says, "Exactly."
Right.
And Arthur says, "Well, I've always gotten along with him." He had some pretty funny lines in this episode.
Yes.
He was useful for all of 3 seconds.
And that's when we hear a loud crash, I believe.
There's a loud crash. He skids out, hits a tree.
Yes, and Arthur and Maud are like looking out the door, and she sees that it's Walter hit a tree.
Yep.
And she faints.
Yep. She passes out in Arthur's arms.
Yeah, and then the other 3 women come rushing in.
Yep.
And they grab her.
They grab Maud, and it's very, very slapstick.
Yeah.
Very stand-up.
Yes.
Very stand-up. Very slapstick comedy where they're trying to like
maneuver
Maud to the couch,
and she winds up on top of Vivian.
Meanwhile,
Arthur had rushed out because he's a doctor, of course.
Yes.
So to check on Walter, and I think when Maud is like sort of coming to, she's like pleading with God that
yes, please bring him back to me. Oh, if you bring him back, If you bring him back to me, I'll never ask for anything from you ever again.
Right.
Which, of course, is a lie.
Of course. That was a lie.
That was a lie.
And at that point, Walter comes in looking rather disheveled.
Looking disheveled. His coat is torn.
Yeah, his hair is all messed up.
Yep. And Maud is like,
thank heavens.
Thank heavens he's back.
And he tells that there was only there was only one thought that he had. That he would never play the organ again.
How would you feel if your husband took wigs over you?
Well, as long as I can wear the wigs.
Always something.
I'll be second place.
Always
as long as I get to wear the wigs.
As long as you get to wear the wigs, you're fine.
It's fine. Oh, so that brought us to the break.
There's a commercial break, and then when we come back, we see Carol and Arthur and Florida and Vivian.
Not Vivian, no.
Not Vivian. It was just Arthur.
Florida and Carol were in the kitchen, and Arthur was, I think he brought in a present.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And because this is now like a week later,
I think, yeah, this is a week later.
because they're discussing how it's been quiet all week.
It's eerie, Florida. Says.
Yeah.
Eerie that they are not.
I think Arthur even referred to them as like the honeymoon. They were like the honeymooners or something like
something
that.
to that effect.
Yeah, because they've been, apparently we find out that they've been like all lovey-dovey all week
Yep.
because of the accident.
He didn't come in with a present. He came in with headache medication for Maud because Maud's been having chronic headaches.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, it's prescription. I thought
Yes,
I wrote
prescription.
Prescription. He brought in a prescription. I thought it was. It's my shorthand, which is horrid.
So he comes in with the headache medication,
Yes.
drops it off for Maud, and they're like they've been like Bill and coo. They've been cooing like birds.
Arthur makes a remark about it's like death takes a holiday.
Yes. And Carol, I think, rolls her eyes or snickers.
Yeah.
And they're at present, Walter and Maud are at their favorite French restaurant. They're
Their
having
favorite
dinner.
restaurant. Was it French?
Yes, it was French.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because the waiter
Philippe.
was Philippe, who had I believe he had a French accent, right?
Yes, he did.
Not a real one, but
Definitely not a real one.
because we'll get to that.
We'll get to
so
that in
they're
just a moment.
dancing.
And they have on the most sour of faces.
Yeah, they don't look very happy.
They were just not in it.
Yeah.
They were not in it.
And can I just say, it was odd because the whole first half, because this is about halfway through. The first half is all like in the house.
Chaos.
About the organ.
Yes.
And then the second half it's like this whole it just sort of felt weird. Like it was not the most well put together episode in that regard.
No.
In how this just sort of this shift to now the restaurant. It didn't seem like the first half and the second half
Matched up.
really they didn't really match
I
up,
mean,
did they?
when you think about it, you also have to take into consideration the commercial break was like a week later.
True.
So
I
sort
do
of,
understand
It's
that.
sort of like we're watching a whole different episode. It's like a two-parter in a one-part episode.
Yeah, right?
But I mean, the organ hasn't been played.
Right.
Walter hasn't touched the organ. Maud has a headache.
Right. And she's had a headache.
She's had a headache.
Yeah, all
And
week.
Walter has just been
Humming.
has been humming. So they're dancing. Walter spins out Maud. Maud is like rubbing against the man behind her, and she goes, got an aspirin.
Got an aspirin, yes.
So they've had 4 days of no arguing. and then-
don't forget Walter stepped on her toe.
yes, the band stops playing, and Maud leaps and then gets her toe stepped on by Walter.
Yes.
So at that point they sit down and now they're just trying to enjoy
Dinner.
And Maud has a martini and Walter has a Shirley
Temple. I was glad to see that they did sort of
They did keep the
tie
alcoholism.
in
They
there
did,
that
yeah.
Walter was
I mean,
not
that was
drinking.
one of the things that I enjoyed was the continuity.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed the continuity of Maud far more than I enjoyed the continuity of the Golden Girls.
Yes. Yes. It was I was glad to see that they didn't,
Trust me, what makes me happy is that they'll take these serious issues and then they'll revisit them. Like, we revisit Walter's alcoholism,
Yes.
like, later down the line.
Yes. Which is realistic because most
Yes.
most people with alcoholism they struggle all their lives. It's
Yes,
not
they
like
do.
it's not well they even said that in that two-parter about Walter's problem.
Yes.
That you
You're never fully cured of addiction.
yeah, you're never cured. It's always with you.
Yes.
So
And we support those who have battled and overcome their addictions.
Yes.
With that said,
Walter is still humming.
Walter is still
Unfortunately, that's an addiction that that's a pretty bad one.
I mean, I whistle sometimes.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
Not that I whistle often, but I sometimes do it. One of my favorite anecdotal. This is completely and totally anecdotal. One of the babies that my sister sits for, he's I want to say like 6 or 7 right now,
Yeah.
and my sister has babysat for him since he was in diapers.
Okay.
And one of the things that I remember doing was we were just sitting around, like he was playing video games and I was watching him play video games because I was there, and I'm like, I get to be the older brother, I get to be the older cousin, like, this is so exciting for me. I'm, like, actually giving this child a video game controller. Because, I mean, in my family, video games were a rite of passage.
Okay.
And, like, I remember just sitting down, and I go, and he looks at me, and he goes, I'm like, you almost got it, keep trying. And he keeps on trying, and, like, every time I've seen him since, he'll whistle for me.
Oh.
And I'm like, so cute!
Oh, Lord.
I would be a delightful father.
I'm sure you would.
I'd be a delightful mother, too.
I'm sure you would. Think of, like, how the kid could do, like, cosplay with you. You'd have, you have the little kid.
I'd have my own personal Ariel.
Yes.
I'd have my own personal Ariel to my Ursula. But I don't want to be a narcissistic parent.
Or you could do, like, Mini-Me. Or,
Stop it. Stop it immediately.
That would be fabulous.
No, it would not. No, it would not.
You could be the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda.
That I will grant you. That one I will grant you. That one is funny. I appreciate that one. While I'm still in my childbearing years.
Yes. Or the little kid could be Shrek, and you could be
Lord Farquaad.
No,
Fiona.
Fiona, yes. That would be great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to God'll Get You for That, Walter, where every episode is the last episode. So, they're having one of the most boring, ineffective conversations I have ever heard.
Yes.
And even, Maud exclaims, Walter, if I were president, this is one conversation I wouldn't take.
She wouldn't take this, yes. Talking about Watergate.
Talking about Watergate.
Yes. And Walter says something's missing.
Laughter.
Yes.
He's like, we used to laugh a lot when we were together. And Maud's like, you're right, laughter. That's not what it is.
Yeah, not it.
That's not it.
So now Philippe brings the dinner over.
Philippe brings the dinner out, and it's a steak, and I believe Walter had a salmon.
No, they both had steak.
They both had steak?
Yes, because Walter's going on about, this, he loves his steak.
Yes.
And,
he ordered the steak medium.
Yes.
And Maud ordered the steak well done.
Never order a steak.
Never order a steak well done.
Oh.
And even Maud's like, never in a French restaurant. They always undercook the meat.
She says they undercook it. But apparently not this time.
Not this time.
Not this time. She should have just ordered medium.
So Maud makes a face as she tries to eat it, and they both, Walter's like, he winces. He winces like that's the face that she made. And
his face.
He's calling out Philippe, and he's screaming.
Yeah.
He's screaming. But even before that, one of my favorite jokes was Walter's humming, and Maud's like, Walter, stand. He's like, why? Oh. And she goes, because you're humming the Star Spangled Banner.
Yes.
And, while they bring out the food, Walter asks, like, where's your headache start? And she goes, well, it starts at the top of my head, works its way back to sort of the back of my head, under the ear where it's a throbbing sensation, down the spine, around the clavicle where it's this pulsating feeling, down to my sacroiliac, and just this headache is really causing her a lot of discomfort.
The headache that never ends.
I've had those.
Yes. Walter's yelling for he's
yelling for Philippe to take the steak back.
He wants Maud to send that steak back. And another one. And they're yelling.
They're arguing. There's a gentleman who walks over to them and says, would you please keep it down? Mother and I are trying to enjoy.
Mother and I, yes. Anybody like
that makes me cringe so hard.
When married couples that like you refer to the other one as like mother or father, I'm just like
I would never.
Oh, no,
nope,
no. Mother and I are having and Walter was like, well, we're having our own anniversary.
He goes, what do you think me and this mother are doing?
Yeah.
Which got a lot of laughter.
Yes.
It got a lot more laughter than I anticipated getting.
Yes.
So Maud is like, would you please lower your voice?
Yes. And he's telling her to order another steak.
Yeah, order a steak.
He told her to get the poached salmon.
Yep. And she says, I never take poached salmon on a headache.
Right.
And, Philippe comes out and he's like...
Now they come out with the cake. Didn't they come out? Oh, wait. No, Philippe
came out and he's like, okay, I'll take the steak. Don't take the steak.
And Maud's like, no. And Walter's like, take it. And Maud keeps like, no.
And I think Walter finally confronts her and says, what's wrong with the steak? And she goes, look, She sticks her fork in it and holds
Yes.
it up, and then she says, "And listen," and bangs it 3
Yes.
times
Yes.
on
Yes.
the counter.
Yes.
I mean on the
It
table.
It was overcooked.
It was very overcooked.
It was overcooked.
She says you could put it back on the horse it came from and use it as a
Yes.
saddle.
So now I think at this point is when
They come out.
they come
yes.
out. This
They come
Philippe
out and they're
the
singing.
other waiters. And
Yes.
they're
After the
singing,
poached salmon comment, they come out
and they bring out a
and
cake.
and Philippe is singing "Happy Anniversary" and he goes really into a falsetto,
Yes.
which was very unbecoming.
Yes.
But it was fine.
Yes.
And it gets to like "Happy Anniversary to." We'll come back later.
Yes.
And then they come back, and it was
Because they haven't stopped fighting.
It was a chocolate cake with a sparkler in it.
Yes. Yes. And now Walter gets up and he stands up on the chair.
Stands up on the chair. Announcement!
Yes.
Announcement! We are the Finleys, and we're having one hell of a fight.
Let me tell you, if I were in the restaurant while the Finleys were there doing this, I would be really pissed off.
I would ask the waiters to just
I mean, I would like
pay for my meal. I would say, do you mind like paying for a meal because that was a thing.
I would be like, my meal is ruined. Why do I have to deal with this?
Why do I have to pay for this? I mean, and then
Yeah.
there are some people that'll be like, "Oh, look at the show.
Oh yes,
Dinner and a show.
live theater.
Live theater.
Yes.
Live theater. Who needs to go to the local community theater when you got it right here in your own restaurant?
I mean, didn't they have a sense of propriety?
Don't you know the meaning of propriety?
Propriety.
Noun.
Forget the rest.
So do I. I just know that the last bit of that dialogue is "see etiquette."
See, etiquette.
So last week, Tony and I were going over our love of What's Up, Doc. A very
I didn't know that we didn't know that we both
loved it.
the movie so much.
The movie is wonderful. It is a beautiful slapstick comedy starring Ryan O'Neal,
Barbara Streisand.
Madeline
Directed by
Kahn,
Madeline Kahn, directed by Peter Bogdanovich.
directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and what a funny movie! If you haven't watched it, do
my
yourself
God.
the favor and do. It is
Hilarious.
slapstick comedy at its finest.
And the chase at the end is really considered to be one of the best and funniest chase scenes ever filmed.
Ever filmed.
It really is, including a Chinese dragon.
Including a Chinese dragon.
I mean,
Including a
yes.
Chinese dragon.
Oh.
Literally just one of the funniest slapstick comedies,
God, that
since the Marx Brothers.
Oh, and they're like, and we were like reciting lines. Like,
Yep, we were reciting lines like it was going out of style.
I mean, it was like there's just so many things about it. Madeline Kahn though was
just a vision, an
she-
absolute vision in that movie.
She was amazing
Yeah,
as
she was.
Eunice.
Eunice.
What was Eunice? What was Eunice's
Oh
last
God,
name?
we had the same conversation the last
time.
There was Howard Bannister, Eunice. Oh God, why can't I think of her last name?
I'm looking it up right now.
Howard
speak.
Bannister.
Howard Bannister. Those are Howard's rocks.
What are you doing with Howard's rocks?
What are you doing with Howard's rocks?
Eunice. Oh my God.
Miss Boynes.
Eunice Burns. Eunice Burns.
Miss Boynes.
Miss Bynes. Hello, Miss Bynes.
Barbra Streisand.
Yes.
Calls her
Barbra
on the
Streisand.
phone.
Called her on the phone.
And she's pretending to be Sylvia and then Louise.
Yep.
Then
yeah,
becomes
Sylvia Louise.
Sylvia Louise with a hyphen.
With a hyphen.
And she has
You know, with a hyphen.
yes, a Miss Boynes.
Just such a funny movie.
One of the funniest movies.
We'll do a God'll Get You for that, Walter. What's up, Doc?
We should do a special.
Just a special where we go over that movie.
God will
and
get
just-
you for that, Walter.
What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc?
Just
special.
I love that so much. I do love that idea.
That movie is just beyond belief. So funny.
So after that, Maud says,
funnier than this episode.
much funnier than this episode.
But
I mean,
digress.
all things considered, this episode is just fluffy.
Yeah, it was very
It's
fluffy.
a fluffy episode.
Very fluffy. They must have had trouble coming up with an idea.
I guess so. This
I-
must
I
have been like
know.
it had. I mean, December 11th. Wouldn't that be considered sweeps? No, sweeps week is in March.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know what the purpose.
Well,
was.
you know what? They're getting closer. Think of the scheduling. December 11th, they're coming up on the Christmas season.
True.
People would not.
And they would always do like Christmas specials for NBC and ABC.
They would not be wanting to put anything too heavy on at this time of year.
Yeah.
People just, wouldn't want to watch anything. Like, certainly, like, episodes like, Walter's problem or
Yeah,
Maud's
those are
dilemma.
much heavier issues.
You know, they wouldn't want to put that on in in a time frame
I
this
think
close
I
to
think
Christmas.
I think the next episode is the one about Nancy Potter, which is a very heavy episode.
Oh, is it?
It deals a lot with racism and race issues and all that fun stuff. So I think that might be the episode either after this or after this might be the season where this just the half mark for the season.
Right.
Half
They
mark
didn't
for the
really
season.
do that though in the 70s. They do
Really?
it. No.
They do it now.
Now they do. Yes,
mind,
that's
never
very
mind.
that's very typical now.
Well-
But back then, no, it didn't work like that. They didn't have like they do now, where basically like halfway through the season, because now it's almost like seasons are like they're like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't like that then. But
We'll
again,
find
I
out.
digress.
I digress.
I keep
We do
digressing.
digress.
I'm just digressing.
So
Stop me! Somebody stop me from digressing.
You just embarrassed me in front of the
In
Sopranos.
front of the Soprano, and of course, we're not talking about the Soprano.
We're not
from
talking about Tony Soprano,
Tony Soprano,
who's been showing up more and more in my life lately, which just really bothers me.
and he's Tony with a Y,
He's Tony with a Y,
not me, Tony with an I.
not you, Tony with an I.
Yes.
So they're the Finleys. They're having one hell of a fight, and Maud is like they're both arguing. They're both yelling, and Maud stops.
She realized that he stopped humming,
She goes, Walter, my headache's gone.
and her headache's gone.
When
Yes,
did you
her
stop
headache-
humming? And he
Yes.
goes, I think I stopped humming it right after we started arguing.
Yes.
And at that point, something comes out of Maud's mouth that just really bothers me. She says, our juices are starting to flow again.
That bothered you?
A little bit.
Oh, I don't.
Because again, it sort of catered to the trope that good married couples constantly argue.
Oh, okay.
And, I think even Walter says, like, how can two people live without conflict?
Right.
Which, I mean, does make sense, but the arguments that they were having could be looked at as spousal abuse
Okay.
by today's standards.
Okay. I get that.
So,
And they comment that them being like sort of kissy nicey that
Yeah.
that wasn't us.
that wasn't them.
Yes.
That wasn't them.
So Walter has to make an announcement again.
Yep, we are the Finleys, and we are going to enjoy our dinner now.
And they're shutting up.
And they sat down to the applause of everybody in the restaurant.
Yes.
And then Philippe comes out with his
Back again with the cake.
back again with the cake and sings "Happy Anniversary to you."
You. Yes.
And it was one of those things where I was listening to it and I'm like, okay, sure, that's great.
Yes.
So then they say "Happy Anniversary, Maud," "Happy Anniversary, Walter."
Yeah,
They kiss, and then we fade to black.
Yes.
So we come back for the epilogue
For
of
the
the
epilogue,
episode.
Arthur is borrowing cornflakes from Florida.
Yep, he says thanks Florida for the cornflakes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he said something to the effect of, "I never seem to have these," or he said something stupid that Florida
Mm-hmm.
came back with, "Yeah, you never buy them,"
Yeah. Yes, he's always just borrowing theirs.
which isn't that
Typical Arthur.
Jokes like that make people believe that doctors are really, really, really frugal. And I actually learned one of the reasons why doctors are so frugal is because they have to constantly put money into malpractice insurance.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
They have to consistently put money into malpractice
Although
insurance.
really not the case so
No.
much in
I think when it comes to
1973.
Arthur's just...
Nowadays, yes.
Nowadays,
yes. But 73, no. I think they were just making a point of that Arthur is he's just that neighbor who's always borrowing,
Borrowing and
can I borrow the
bothering.
corn, can I borrow some cornflakes? Can I borrow a cup of sugar? Can I borrow the, your hand drill? That was just the type of neighbor.
The
Arthur
answer
was.
is
no.
no.
And the thing is, he would never. They don't return it. It's like you want to go use it, and you gotta go and get it back from them.
Yep.
So
the ceasefire ended at midnight, according to Florida.
yes, things are back to normal.
Things are back to normal, and Walter comes downstairs and he starts playing
the organ.
Playing the organ again, and like Carol asks, "You're back at it again with the organ?"
Yeah, she
And-
thought that he was getting rid of it.
Yep.
And he says that him and Maud, they had an agreement.
Yup.
She's going to take up an instrument.
Yup. And Carol's like, oh no, she's probably going to take up the harmonica again.
Yeah, no. But
That wasn't the case.
was not the case.
Maud, we hear a loud boom.
Boom.
And Maud enters carrying a bass drum.
Bass drum.
And is just pounding
on
it.
that drum.
And you know,
Drowning
she did it.
everything
She
out.
did it very well. Like
Yeah, she did.
I almost thought that like maybe she was in the school band when she
Yeah,
was
really,
when she was
right?
in high school.
Yes.
So she's banging on the bass drum, and Walter's like, Maud, what are you doing? And she says, don't stop me now, Walter, I'm rolling.
Yeah, and he's yelling, I'll take it back, please.
I'll take it back.
Thank the Lord.
And that's how the episode ends.
And that's how the episode ends. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, not a great episode.
Not a great episode.
Not a great episode.
I'm beginning to understand why B. Arthur did not like this episode.
Yeah, I can see
I will
why.
say this: I loved Maud's outfit at the
that sort of wine-colored outfit. Yeah, it was very
very pretty,
nice.
very pretty. Had embroidered all
Yes.
over it. Had like sequins and
Yes.
beads, but it wasn't like too flashy. It was
No.
just flashy enough.
Just flashy enough.
And again, it was obviously a pantsuit with a
Well, of course.
with a long vest.
Well, of course.
But of course, that's just Maud's look.
That's
We thank you so much for listening to another episode of God Will Get You
we,
for That,
we
Walter.
really have to thank them if for getting
for getting through this
this
episode.
one. We apologize.
If you would like to hear us more, you can on YouTube at God Will Get You for That Walter, on Facebook at God Will Get You for That Walter, on Instagram you can find us at Finley's Friendly Appliances. If you would like to follow us anywhere else, you can at God Will Get You for That Walter on Spotify, Pandora, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio. We are everywhere.
We're on all those
And
podcast platforms.
If you would like to follow me, you can at thattomcat.com. That's ThatTomcatt.com. And if they would like to follow you, where they can follow you at.
Well, they can follow Tony Holmperm, and of course it's Tony with an I, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I think that's basically it. And of course, TonyHolmperm.com.
Yep. We will see you, and I mean that very sincerely, on the next episode.
We will?
No, we won't. No, we won't. That's
I
a
was
lie.
going to clean my glasses.
You can hear us again on another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter, next week. And we'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.